Hi guys, I'm Beth. This is Remark, and today we are going to be taking the POC-a-thon challenge. So what is the POC-a-thon, you may be asking? That is POC, People of Color. It is a challenge devised by several booktubers, namely Justin over at Ghost Reads, Diana over at Diana in Color, Min Kobayashi, Kevin at Storyglyph, and Paula Mancera. It is a challenge, a reading challenge that they devised to encourage people to just read more books by and about people of color. The idea is to just get out there, get out of your own comfort zone, get out of your own demographic, and get more diversity into your life. It has 5 different challenges. The first one I see kind of more as a heading. I had to kind of wrap my head around it. It says to make sure that you read books with at least main characters that represent at least 3 different nationalities, ethnic groups, races, just to make sure that we're being diverse in our diverse reading. So I made sure to do that within the other challenges. Challenge number 2 is to read a classic book by an author of color or a translated work. This is one on my TBR pile, and that is a couple books by Alexandre Dumas. This was a French man who was of mixed race. He was born to a French nobleman father who coupled with a slave, an Afro-Caribbean slave. Together they made a beautiful baby who became a very tremendously successful author. He wrote many famous books such as The Man in the Iron Mask, Georges, The Three Musketeers. The one on my list is The Count of Monte Cristo. This is actually a paperback book that I got from my mom, and that's been sitting on my bookshelf for many years, and I've always meant to read it and just haven't yet. So it's supposed to have it all as far as the intrigue goes. Lots of stuff that should be a very interesting read. Challenge number 3 is to read a science fiction or fantasy book by an author of color. Now, a few months ago during Black History Month, I talked about Octavia Butler in the science fiction space. So I really wanted to challenge myself to go beyond Octavia Butler, who, by the way, I think is brilliant and everyone should read. And I came across this book called Black Betty by Nisi Shawl. It is available online free, and in fact, the wonderful LeVar Burton of Reading Rainbow fame reads this on his podcast. He reads it out loud, and it's followed by an interview with the author herself. It is about a dog. Black Betty is a dog, but she is born into this society that's kind of going into racial turmoil, and she herself has a lot of marks against her because I think she's a black dog, or she grew up around African American people, or maybe it's not even America. Geez. You kind of get into these thoughts of being treated like animals and being traded and passed along and completely living at the whims of your masters. So, very interesting story. Black Betty by Nisi Shawl. I highly recommend that you either give it a read or listen to LeVar Burton read it. Good stuff. Challenge number 4, read a poem by a person of color. For this one, I'm going to read the first few stanzas of a poem called I Invite My Parents to a Dinner Party by the poet Chen Chen. Here's the first part of it. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but here are the first few lines. In the invitation, I tell them for the 17th time, the 4th in writing, that I am gay. In the invitation, I include a picture of my boyfriend and write, you've met him 2 times, but this time you will ask him things other than can you pass the whatever. You will ask him about him. You will enjoy dinner. You will be enjoyable. Please RSVP. They RSVP. They come, they sit at the table and ask my boyfriend the first of the conversation starters. I slip them upon arrival. How is work going? I'm like the kid in Home Alone, orchestrating every movement of a proper family, as if a pair of scary yet deeply incompetent burglars is watching from the outside. Good stuff. Good poem. It goes on to talk about the dinner party itself, but Chin Chin wrote that he wrote this poem in response to his own parents grappling with his sexuality and maybe thinking more in an ideal way of, instead of him constantly reaching out to them and trying to hope that they come around, to shifting within this poem to a place where he's telling them the way that they need to act and expecting that of them. The fifth and final challenge asks us to read a book about discrimination, immigration, or prejudice. Now, for this one, I chose the subject of immigration and have two books that I can recommend, both of which I have read within the last few months. The first is The Leavers by Lisa Coe. This one deals with a boy who, he and his mother are in the U.S. His mother came over illegally and then had him, and then all of a sudden she disappears. She disappears, and the rest of his childhood and young adulthood is pretty much lived in the shadow of, where did she go? What happened to my mother? And so then we shift to the perspective of the mother and we see what happened. We get to see her life leading up to coming to the U.S. We get to see her early days as an illegal immigrant, and then we get to see exactly what happened that made her leave and what had happened in the years since. Now, I will say this book really opened my eyes and made me feel almost willfully ignorant, because I straight up did not know that these places existed. I'm being purposefully vague right here because I don't want to give away the story and I don't want to say where she went. So I'm going to stop being frustratingly vague and move on to the next book, which is Lucky Boy by Shanthi Sekaran. Another excellent book. This one is about a little boy named Ignacio. His mother is a Mexican illegal immigrant. She came over, had Ignacio, and then was deported. So he was taken in by this set of foster parents who couldn't have kids of their own. So this lucky boy is kind of torn on these two sides by these two sets of parents who love him desperately, and both want to keep him in their lives. And so it goes through the push-pull of that, and then also the conundrum of, who does this boy belong with? The way it ended, I think, was the right way for the book to end, but it was still just so heartbreaking, but beautiful, beautifully written. Thanks again to the BookTube creators of the POC-a-thon, which has been a lot of fun. Admittedly, I suck at all of the a-thons, despite my best intentions to play along and do all the a-thoning I can. But, oh boy, I'm just terrible. Even if I'm not necessarily reading nonstop during these 5 days, I am excited to have the reminder to read more diversely, just not only these 5 days, but moving forward. Very good challenge, very good reminder. Very good books. I'll also be sure to link to a Twitter thread that Justin from Ghost Reader left that has just tons and tons of recommendations. If you are stuck in a place of, what in the heck do I read? Where do I start? He'll get you started. He's got lots of great recommendations. Okay, thanks for watching. Catch you next time. Bye.